Hello everyone, it's the Blackshot here, making yourselves fairly well. It feels like it's been a little while since I last did one of these, and that's probably because it has been a while since I last did one of these. Things have been maybe a little bit on the quiet side on hidden assets the past few weeks or so, but the good news is I've got a week off that I went and booked away, and I've got no plans of going anywhere or doing anything specifically. It's just simply to get stuff in order. Some time spent trying to get this place in a little bit of sense because probably kind of needs it, but also to spend some time doing content for channels on YouTube. It's a bizarre concept, I can thoroughly assure you. But it'd be good to crack on with that. And that's what this is going to be. A lot has gone on over the course of the past couple of months for the world of Dune Imperium, and there's a lot of stuff upcoming as well. So we're going to go ahead and cover through everything at possibly breakneck speed, so prepare yourself. We're going to start off with hidden assets, and it has been a little bit quiet on the channel for the past few weeks or so. CJ has been doing some streams dotted about here and there for Star Wars Unlimited, which is a game that he's very much enjoying. He's currently taking a bit of a breakaway from Dune Imperium, and it's been cool to pop around. It's not a really sort of type of board game I'm that used to, so it's new for me. I've popped around for a few of the streams, I've had some guests as well on those as well. Dune Imperium-wise, however, there is content about, but it's a little while ago, and this is due to the fact, as many of you I'm sure are aware at this point, I am currently in the midst of doing night shift work, which is not very conducive for trying to create content, the way it's kind of gone. However, with this week off, there is plenty of content planned, and I'm going to be busy over the next few days or so. There is content coming for the channel, which I'm very pleased to announce. Some of it I've talked about already on the Discord server. It's linked in the description below, and that is going to be the return of the top 5 series, which I did about a year or so ago for Dune Imperium Uprising. It is going to be brought back for Bloodlines. For those of you that aren't aware, this is a series that I did, which basically took all 9 leaders of Uprising and had basically compressed into a 15-minute or so guide for beginners and some intermediaries as well, of kind of like getting introduced to the leaders and how to approach them in Dune Uprising. You know, looking at their powers, looking at what they're good at, what you should be trying to do gameplay wise, and extra bits and pieces as well, and putting it into 5 little sections. It was a really cool series to do. It went really well received. However, admittedly, I wasn't sure that I was going to do this for Bloodlines for quite a while, just because I wasn't sure I was the right person to do it, honestly. I hadn't really played much Bloodlines since it came out a few months or so ago, and I was very reluctant to kind of do something like this without having more experience behind me. Well, while I haven't been able to produce very much content the past month or so, I have managed to get games in, and I'm about sort of 40 to 50 games deep in now, which I think is probably enough to do something like this for those folks that haven't played very much of Bloodlines so far, and even if you have played a little bit and kind of dip your toes in, wanting some more directed advice, I can give you what I know. And it's been interesting kind of sitting down and kind of theory crafting as well. It can be good for one's own game, just spending some time doing that. So I'm going to be doing that for all of the leaders that come out with Bloodlines. So that's 9 videos for 9 leaders. I also probably will do an extra couple of parts as well. One maybe is just an Uprising introduction on the whole for Bloodlines, because it does introduce a lot of new mechanics. It is a lot crammed into this expansion, so it's probably worth its own video. And I am also interested in taking any other ideas folks have got, specifics that might be relevant to cover for this series as well. And with any luck, I might be able to find some time to do it. That would be cool. One thing I'm also looking to do is a guide on how to play and access and use the Bloodlines mod for Tabletop Simulator. This is also something that I've been not in a rush to record. It's one of those sorts of things that the moment you record it and publish it, it's out of date because things are always changing. And especially for the mod on TTS, there is a lot of kind of flux and change going on with it at all the time. But I think it's in a stable enough point for now where I can probably put this together. I see questions in amongst Hidden Assets Discord, the TTS Club Discord all the time about how to use the mod properly. So I think a video like this would be very useful. I'm probably not going to go quite as much heavily in depth as I did for these. I split into like 4 separate parts. It'll probably be like one 15-20 minute video of just kind of giving the general overlay of how to use the mod specifically. But I do think that will be very useful for the community to have that available, because it doesn't really exist at the moment. There is going to be one other thing which is going to be coming to the channel the next couple of weeks, and this is not something I necessarily thought was going to be a thing I was going to do. However, we are also going to be having a look into the world of 3v3 Uprising. This is not a world that I'm very familiar with. I have never played 3v3 Uprising, but this is a mode that was introduced with it. Obviously, we're all very used to the 4-player, free-for-all variant. But Uprising brought in teams, the Emperor against the Fremen, basically. And it's something that I've always been kind of curious about learning more of, and it turns out that there are definitely communities of folks who play lots of 3v3. So we're going to be joined on the channel by no community member Priceless, and we're going to be doing some content regarding 3v3. We're going to do a video of kind of like an introduction into 3v3 and how it works, and the various bits and pieces going on. And then the plan is me and him are going to be basically looking to commentate an actual 3v3 game. Probably get it down a little bit because they can be a bit long, but actually do some 3v content on the channel, which I think would be cool. It is very niche, I will admit. It's definitely nowhere near as popularized as the standard variant of the game is, but it's something that we've never covered on this channel. And being honest, I'm not really sure there's really any 3v3 content around on the internet. It just doesn't really exist. So I think it'd be really cool to be able to kind of bring that to light, also using the TTS mod, which is pretty damn good at its current state as well. So that'll be a lot of fun, and then that comes out in the next couple of weeks. So next up, let's talk about more official news from Dire Wolf regarding Dune Imperium. We're going to start off with a new promo card that got announced a couple of weeks or so ago, and that is this one here, Pivotal Gambit. So the idea is that this card is going to be given out to all competitors at the Uprising Ring event at this year's World Series of Board Gaming in September at the Horseshoe in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is pretty cool. Pretty wild, definitely interesting. I can say I've never been to the World Series of Wargaming. There was the outsidest of chances that maybe I would have found my way there last year, but it didn't quite happen. And I'm never going to rule out the possibility of trying to get there maybe some point soon. But Vegas it's a bit of a trip from here, truth be told. However, that's the idea. The actual card itself, you can see here, Pivotal Gambit, is a pretty fascinating card. I always like cards in this game that have unique mechanics. Uprising definitely has a few. Bloodlines has a few as well. But Pivotal Gambit here, obviously you choose to trash the card when you use it, giving a troop, and it adds a wild bump to the first place reward for the conflict. It's the first card that's ever done this. A card which actually changes materially the rewards available to a fight, which is very, very cool. It does mean this can obviously be potentially really swingy for you, or potentially against you if you end up losing the fight, which obviously makes it very risky. And I do think it's very, very cool, the idea of having a card that kind of changes materially the state of a combat. It's one of those cards that you will always know if you've got it in a game, who's got it. And it's one of those cards you'll always be tracking, kind of monitoring, saying, are they about to, like, completely go for it? What do you do as well? Like, when you go for it, you've kind of got to go really heavy, right? You'd hate to play this card and then lose the fight, right? It'd feel absolutely terrible. So, yeah, really, really cool card. It's very possible it might start seeing this around some point in the near future. You know what the internet's like. But, yeah, super, super cool. And then, yeah, definitely, if you're going to find yourself over in Vegas this September, definitely do enjoy. I think really, really cool. Other things that Dire Wolf have announced, and no, I'm not on their payroll, Honest Engines, although it's kind of ironic actually talking about that, is that they are going to be over at Gen Con in Indianapolis this July and August, a few days. They've announced they're going to be there, trialing off various of their games, Dune Imperium, they've got Clank, Invincible, stuff like that. But if you're in the area and fancy helping out with them, they are looking for demo staff to help demonstrate and obviously trial their various games and publicize them over the few days or so, which is super cool. If you're interested, head over to Dire Wolf's website. Here's some bits and pieces. There's a form you got to fill out, that sort of thing. I don't think it's anything I could legally do because I'm not a resident of the US, and that gets into all sorts of visa fun and games. I don't think I could legitimately do it if I wanted to. But that is a thing that is going down. Quick aside of something that's, I don't know if this is a good thing or not. It probably isn't. And I don't know if I should really publicly mention this, but I'm going to. I've never been to a board game convention. I've just never been to one. There are a couple that happen in the UK. I haven't been made aware of a couple that are happening this year. There's one happening sort of like quite a way away, like towards the top end of England. But I think there's one happening in Birmingham later on in this year. I've never thought they're quite to the scale of what they're done sometimes in the States, and I think it's amazing that you have these things and they're so diverse and it's hugely. I think it's absolutely crazy and really impressive that these exist. But I've never been to one, and that's probably something that I could do with rectifying at some point. I mean, if Direwolf ever announced they're going to go to the UK for a convention, I'm sure you can find myself there. Does it mean I'm going to try and find a plane ticket to Indianapolis, July and August? I mean, it's not that far away from my birthday. Maybe there's a world it can happen. We'll see how that goes, but who knows? I think it'd be super cool, and definitely like it's Gen Con obviously is an institution at this point. So yeah, if you're in the area, do go check it out. I think it'd be super duper cool. Last thing I want to make a mention of on this part is Dune Imperium Digital. It has been seeing a whole host of updates and patches over the past few weeks or so. This is due to the fact that there have been quite a few issues with the game over the past few weeks. They released a big patch out for it about a month or so ago, and we're kind of doing bug fixing since. To be fair, it's in a pretty decent state now. They have been taking a lot of recommendations under consideration from folks on their own official Discord, putting out bits and pieces, myself, Bludgeon, other content creators, and people just play the game, kind of saying, why don't you do this differently? And they have been doing a lot of fixing stuff, which is really appreciated. There are some other issues as well. There's a couple of instances where specific rules aren't quite being followed. So for the longest time, Ixgil Compact is a card that on its reveal box gives you 2 tech negotiators. It's a Rise of Ix card. However, officially, those negotiators are not mandatory as per the rulebook, but Digital's just been giving them automatically, and that's something to introduce. So bits and pieces about that. But they've been fixing stuff like how texts are displayed. You can now hover over them on a player just to see them rather than having to click on them and dig through the menu. Just a lot of general quality of life stuff that's been introduced. Also, if you're aware, they brought in stats as well. You've now got a stats page you can look at. This one here, actually. Apologies. When my PC wants to actually load. So this is something they brought in, a stats and game history, which I think I covered on this channel a month ago, although I don't know if I actually did or not. But yeah, this is something they've now brought in as well, so you can kind of get an amalgamation of your games, your history, and just little bits of stats, tidbit information, which I kind of is neat. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's there or thereabouts. There is still work going on behind the scenes, I'm fairly sure, regarding further tweaks to ranked mode for the game. It's still like monthly rollovers, and like how the stats and the ELO works is still not changed. But, and this is all completely unofficial, I've had no communication from Direwolf about any of what I'm about to say here. There is eyes from myself and others starting to look at bringing Immortality to Dune Imperium Digital. It is the next step on the roadmap, if you will. And to be honest, I think that Rise of Ix obviously came out, I think it's been pretty successful, and there's not a whole lot left to do with digital until you get to Immortality. Now, when that's going to be released, no one knows. Nothing's been said. My gut feeling is it is going to come out this summer. I'm going to make a punt and say end of June. Just going to throw it out there. Maybe a little bit later than that. We'll see how things go. But I do think that we are not that far away from it, and we will be covering content in it as well. It does mean that in through the world of Ximo, we'll be able to do digital, because you'll be able to combine expansions. Although I strongly suspect that could be a little interesting for the first couple of weeks, because there are all sorts of weird kind of meeting of mechanics and card effects and the whole amalgam, which is going to be really wonky to play around with, I think, for quite a lot of it. So expect there to be some strangeness when that eventually happens. It's also raised the question of what's going to happen in regards to the rank queue for Dune Digital. I don't know. My guess is that ranked mode will become Dune with Immortality and won't feature Rise of Ix. I don't think there's a lot of business sense in putting and paywalling a rank queue behind 2 DLCs separately, it just makes no logical sense whatsoever. So I imagine that ranked will move to Dune and Immortality without Rise of X, which I have played a little bit of in the past. It's actually not that bad. It's quite a methodical kind of game style, but I do think it's pretty cool. But yeah, the world of XMO could be not far away for digital, and I'm quite forward looking to that, honestly. I kind of miss it. So next up, I want to spend a quick moment talking about some of the things that other content creators in the Dune Imperium landscape have gotten up to. First up, we're going to talk about Cheesable, who has been running the Spring Wadi Melee competition over on our Hidden Assets Discord. I'm not in much position to be hosting much of anything at the moment with my current life schedule. So yes, I do kind of miss it. Hopefully it won't be too long to make a return to that. Anyways, so the Spring Wadi Melee has come to the finals now. Finalists have been decided. It's Chromex, RL Agent, Morphling, and Game Slayer. So congratulations to them. I don't believe the finals is going to be broadcast live, and I think they're looking to play it in a couple of weeks or so, is the rough plan. We'll kind of see how that plays out. As far as the Wadi Melee on my side of things, you might recall that I did and posted my first game that I played of the competition, which was a decent scrap, and then that was it. And you might be wondering why that was. Well, let me explain. So I played the first game, and I did the commentary live at like 2 in the morning, because it was the best I could really do. So what ended up happening was my next 2 games both got cancelled and rearranged. So I didn't play another game for another 3 or 4 weeks. The second game I eventually then played went on for about 3 hours. We were just absolutely plagued with connection issues with one of the players who was struggling to connect to anyone and everything. There was stops just constantly. The game took absolutely forever, and the thought of trying to edit that in my current schedule was just like, it ain't gonna happen, brother. It just wasn't gonna happen. So that kind of got put to the wayside. And then the third game I was meant to play, I just completely forgot about. I actually missed the match. It's the first time I've ever missed a competition match like that. I suppose it's not a surprise that it's happened given the current situation that I'm in. But yeah, just completely missed it. So that's why I didn't get recorded either. So sorry about that. It's just the way life has kind of gone. There was also hopes that maybe I would find spots to try and commentate on 1 or 2 games. I got commentate on 1. That's all I managed all competition. Again, it's just being on nights is just, when you're doing 12-hour night shifts, man, that's it. You're done. There's just so little room to kind of maneuver without just like completely jeopardizing yourself. So the sooner they'll be in the back window, the better, quite frankly. And so that brings us to the next competition coming up, and that is the Grand Vision Tournament for Dune Imperium Digital. Where to start with this one? Oh boy. So, Dune Imperium Digital is a really, really good platform for playing this game. And I've always said that. I even said back when we were doing our competitions, Grand Vision Memorial and, the Imperium Cup, doing that over on Tabletop Simulator for X and XMO. I always said that at some point we would look to start moving our competitions to a dedicated app for Dune Imperium once it existed. Because eventually Direwolf Digital were going to go ahead and put that together, which they did. And while Digital has had kind of a couple of ups and downs, overall, it's in a decent state now, and that's why I say when we do streams on this channel, I like doing digital because it's easy. You guys can see what's going on, very accessible, and overall is a pretty solid app. However, there's a reason that we have not done a competition hosted on Dune Imperium Digital, and that is because of actually showcasing matches getting played is technically impossible. While TTS is a bit rough in its application, and it's not always easiest to kind of see what's going on, you can see the game as a spectator. You can just go in there and sit in a grey seat and just watch. You can play, sit in the GM seats and see all the other hidden stuff going on, so you can see cards up, that sort of stuff. Dune Digital doesn't have any of this. There is no spectator mode available in the game, and that means that from kind of our side of things, of hidden assets, we've been very reluctant to kind of do an event on Dune Digital because a lot of the reason of doing it isn't just hosting to see who can win the competition, but it's about being able to show the games, broadcast them, commentate on them, and do all that side of things. That's just as important as who wins these tournaments. And there isn't a feasible way of doing that unless you're actually a participant. This is, again, why I haven't really got involved with it too much, but Cheeseball has opted very bravely, and I'll be supporting him where possible. He is going to dip his toes in kind of almost on everyone else's behalf here. So, Grand Vision Tournament is going to be starting next month in April. And again, the idea being is because we're not too sure how best to kind of do coverage, it's going to be very heavily encouraged that players record their own point of views, playing the game. So content creators like myself, Bludgeon, if he's going to get involved, I hope he does. I think it'd be really, really cool and stuff like that. And we're going to kind of see how things play out from there. It's a bit of a trial event, admittedly. But it's one that I will be involved in, and we'll be seeing how things go in that respect. It's going to be very different to kind of any other tournaments we've casted for sure. So, fingers crossed on that. There are more details regarding the tournament on Hidden Assets Discord. Would definitely encourage you to go and check it out. I believe there are also plans regarding later on in the tournament to have some of the games actually be played on the old TTS mod so we can actually do proper commentary on it. But it's all kind of a little bit of a work in progress, and we'll kind of feel it out as we go. So I'll be doing what I can to help Cheeseball out with this tournament as well, because I do want it to go well, and I do think having an actual competition for digital working out pretty well is good for everyone involved. It's just, there's no spectator mode, and it just doesn't exist, and that really does hamper us here. So we'll kind of see how things go with this one. Also want to make a shout out towards Bludgeon, who's been a very prolific content creator over on Dune Imperium Digital more specifically, and feels like he's come an awful long way over the past sort of 3 to 6 months as well. Really, really cool. Does a lot of streams. I think he streams usually on a Sunday, with the occasional stream about here and there. But if you're not aware and somehow missed it, myself, CJ, Bludgeon, and Diizz played the Dune Imperium Showmatch, which got published and premiered a month or so ago, where the 4 of us played a game of Dune Imperium, but what we did is we all recorded our own points of views, and then we combined it all into a super video, basically, so you could kind of see the game being played and how we're all thinking about it as we were going along. It was a pretty ambitious project, truth be told, and took Bludgeon about 2 to 3 months to edit and put together, but went really, really well and was really, really cool to do. The match itself as well was pretty solid too. Basically, not to try and spoil anything here, but we were all the meta leaders. You'd think your Barons, your Beasts, your Tesias, all of them didn't make the draft. We played draft, got 6 leaders, and all the meta leaders were missing. So it was a lot of thinking on the fly. Made for a really, really entertaining game. So if you've not seen it, do go check it out. I'll put a link to it in the video description below. Really, really cool. And since then, we've all posted, I think we all have posted our POVs of the game as well in full. So that if you want to kind of look in a bit more detail, you can do that. It was a bit tricky for me because although the 3 of them were kind of playing and talking live, it was about 4 in the morning when I was playing. So I had to do my post commentary like 2 days later, and so when you look at my stuff, it's a little bit different. And it definitely complicated Bludgeon's editing, and for that I do apologise. But he did a really, really standout job with this one, and was a real joy to watch back, despite some of the things that happened towards the end of the game. You can't win them all, And so that's going to pretty much do it for this one. I guess the only topic left to cover is talking a bit more about my own current circumstances. As mentioned, still on the night shift, which is definitely hindering really creating much of anything at the moment, except for having this week off, which I've deliberately put myself onto daytime hours so I can do this sort of stuff. I am cautiously optimistic that the current pattern of rotas will not last for much longer. There is a lot of work going on in the background to get changed to a day rota. And even if I was just doing the same kind of rota, but just on days instead of nights, it means that when I'm off for a couple of days recuperating, I can still spend a few hours doing stuff. Like when you're up in 3 in the morning, at here in your own place, like you can't be speaking of this, you can't be doing any of this stuff, you can't stream, you can't do content, so that in itself would just be a bigger enabler of stuff. And I do kind of miss this. As I say, like I've been recording content on Hidden Assets, and my own YouTube channel has been up for like 12 years, but there hasn't been an upload on that since the beginning of February, because just haven't been able to do anything. And it's so scary to try and start any kind of project on the current rota because it's just there's such big gaps being able to realistically put any kind of time beside. But that is my own thing. But cautiously optimistic, touch wood, that a solution that will be coming sooner rather than later. Once it does, I'll be able to do more content for this as well as my own stuff as well. So watch this space as far as that's concerned, but hopefully we're not far away from resolution to that. Anyways, I've spoken for plenty long enough, so thank you much for watching and listening. As I say, I will be getting on with the various bits of content over the next couple of days or so, over the course of the week, and we'll start getting up onto the channel over the next couple of weeks or so. I'll give more details of timelines on the Hidden Assets Discord once I kind of know where things are in regards to that, but hopefully all goes fairly well. So take care of yourselves, everyone. Have yourselves a good spring. Hope you got some fun summer plans. Who knows, as I say, maybe there's a crazy world I see someone in Indianapolis. I wouldn't put it beyond there as a possibility. It'd be pretty cool at least, It'd be pretty spiffy. Have a good one, everyone. Catch you soon.